The rain hammered against the window of his small apartment in the city, each drop like a reminder of the storm inside him. Alex sat on the edge of his bed, phone in hand, staring at the last message from her. "I think we need space." His thumb hovered over the delete button. For weeks, he'd been replaying every argument, every silent dinner, every time she pulled away. He was done, ready to give up, block her number, pack away the memories, and move on. But something stopped him. A faint voice in the back of his mind, something he'd read years ago in a dusty book about ancient Rome. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it. Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism. He had dismissed it back then as philosophy for soldiers and emperors, not for heartbroken guys in their 30s. Tonight, though, with the weight of potential regret crushing his chest, he opened that old book again. What if, before he gave up on her, there was one more lesson waiting? This isn't just Alex's story. It's yours too. If you've ever stood at the edge of surrender in love, if you felt the fire of attachment burn you from the inside, if you've wondered why the person you want most seems to slip away the harder you grip, stay with me. Because what unfolded for Alex over the next months wasn't a fairy tale fix. It was raw, uncomfortable, and profoundly freeing. And by the end, he didn't just save his relationship, he rebuilt himself. Let's walk through that night and the journey that followed. The night the illusion shattered. Alex wasn't always this broken. 6 months earlier, their love had felt invincible. Sarah laughed at his terrible jokes, traced patterns on his back after long days, and made the ordinary feel epic. Then came the drift. Small things at first. Canceled plans, shorter texts, that distant look in her eyes. He responded the way most do, with more effort. Flowers, long messages explaining his feelings, questions that sounded like accusations. Why are you pulling away? The more he chased, the further she retreated. That rainy night, as he scrolled through old photos, the pain peaked. "I'm not enough," he whispered. Attachment had turned him into someone he barely recognized, jealous, needy, reactive. He remembered Epictetus, the former slave turned teacher. It's not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. What if his opinion, that losing her meant losing everything, was the real poison? He didn't delete her number. Instead, he grabbed a notebook and wrote one line. "What can I control here?" It was the first Stoic exercise he tried in years. The answer came slowly. Not her feelings, not her choices, only his own responses, his own growth, his own virtue. The next morning, instead of the usual desperate text, he went for a run. The city air was crisp, the streets still wet. With each step, he let the thoughts come without fighting them. She might leave, and I will still be here. It felt terrifying, but also liberating. The trap of external happiness. Most of us enter love with a hidden contract. You make me happy, and I'll make you happy. Stoicism calls this out as a recipe for misery. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Alex had imagined a future without Sarah as endless emptiness. But what if happiness wasn't her job? He started small. Every morning, before checking his phone, he practiced gratitude. Not for her, but for himself. The coffee he brewed perfectly. The book waiting on his shelf. His health. his ability to choose. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the universe didn't owe him anything. Alex began listing 3 things he controlled: his effort at work, his workouts, his integrity. One evening, a friend dragged him to a Stoic discussion group at a local bookstore. There, an older man named Elias, gray beard, sharp eyes, shared his own story. "I lost my wife, not to death, but to my own clinging. I treated her like my happiness machine. When she left, I realized I'd never built my own foundation." Elias quoted Epictetus again. "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." Alex listened, skeptical at first, but as weeks passed, he noticed the shift. When Sarah's name popped up in a notification, just checking in, he didn't spiral into overanalysis. He replied calmly, "Good to hear from you. Hope you're well." No questions, no pressure. The old Alex would have poured his heart out. This one, he focused on his own life. Amor Fati, loving what happens. Stoicism's most radical idea hit Alex like a freight train. Amor Fati, love your fate. Not just accept it, embrace it. Whatever comes, even heartbreak, is fuel for growth. Nietzsche later echoed it, but the Stoics lived it. Imagine Alex at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, replaying their last fight. Instead of cursing the pain, he asked, "What is this teaching me?" The answer? His worth wasn't tied to her approval. He started journaling, not as therapy dumping, but as training. "Today, I felt rejected. But rejection is just data. It doesn't define me." He applied this to memories too. Their first date at that tiny Italian place, her smile under string lights. Instead of mourning what might be lost, he felt genuine gratitude for having experienced it. "If this ends," he wrote, "it was still worth it, because I became more through it." Sarah sensed the change. She reached out more, not because he chased, but because his calm presence felt magnetic. One weekend, they met for coffee. No heavy talks, just presence. He listened without interrupting to fix. When she mentioned feeling overwhelmed at work, he didn't offer solutions unless asked. He simply said, "That sounds tough. You've handled harder." For the first time in months, the conversation flowed naturally. The dichotomy of control in intimacy. Epictetus drew a line down the middle of life. What you control, opinions, desires, aversions, versus what you don't, body, reputation, other people. Love lives mostly on the uncontrollable side. Her emotions, uncontrollable. Her past, uncontrollable. Your reaction, fully yours. Alex had violated this constantly. He'd get angry when she was distant, as if her mood was his to command. Now, he practiced. When anxiety rose, he labeled it. This is fear of loss speaking, not reality. He redirected energy into self-mastery. Gym sessions became rituals of discipline. Reading philosophy replaced mindless scrolling. He even took up cooking, mastering one new recipe a week as a metaphor. Control what you can, savor the process. This didn't make him cold, quite the opposite. True Stoics love deeply, but without desperation. Seneca advised treating friends and lovers as if they might leave tomorrow, not to detach cruelly, but to appreciate fully today. Alex started small acts of virtue toward Sarah without expectation. A thoughtful note left at her door when he knew she was stressed. No follow-up text demanding response. Her reply came days later. "Thank you. That meant more than you know." Jealousy, desire, and the inner citadel. Jealousy had been Alex's shadow. Every male friend she mentioned, every late night at work, he imagined the worst. Stoicism attacks this at the root. Desire for what isn't yours creates disturbance. Marcus Aurelius, reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears.
He visualized the worst, Sarah choosing someone else. He sat with that image until the emotional charge faded. If it happens, I will respond with dignity. Paradoxically, this reduced the jealousy. He stopped checking her socials. Freed from surveillance, his mind cleared.
Desire itself transformed. He wanted her, but not as a possession, as a fellow human on her own path. This respect created space. She started sharing more openly, vulnerabilities she once hid because his reactions made her feel unsafe. One night, over dinner, she said, "You've changed. You seem at peace." He smiled, working on it, one day at a time.
Building the unbreakable self. Stoicism isn't about relationships succeeding. It's about you succeeding, regardless. Alex focused on becoming the kind of man who attracts love naturally, through character, not tactics. He practiced the 4 Stoic virtues daily. Wisdom, seeing things clearly without emotional distortion. Courage, facing fear of abandonment head-on. Justice, treating her and himself fairly without manipulation. Temperance, moderating reactions, avoiding excess neediness.
He volunteered at a local shelter, not to impress her, but to build compassion. He mended old friendships he'd neglected while obsessed. His life expanded. And in that expansion, the pressure on Sarah vanished. Months passed. Their connection deepened, but differently. Less fireworks, more steady flame. They argued still, but he no longer saw arguments as threats. Discomfort was training.
When she tests you, and she will, relationships test us. Sarah pulled away again once, old patterns. This time, Alex didn't panic. He gave space, focused on his own projects. When she returned, confused by his calm, he was honest. I care deeply, but I won't chase what isn't freely given.
That honesty, rooted in self-respect, shifted everything. She opened up about her fears, commitment anxiety from past wounds. He listened without trying to solve her, just presence. I'm here if you want to work through it together. No pressure. The freedom of non-attachment.
Non-attachment isn't not caring. It's caring without chains. Alex realized he'd turned love into a cage for both of them. Now he loved her as she was, not as his ideal. If paths diverged, he'd wish her well, knowing his inner citadel remained intact. This freedom made their time together lighter, more joyful. Dates felt chosen, not obligatory. Intimacy regained its spark because it came from abundance, not scarcity.
Stories that echo through time. Think of Odysseus navigating storms but anchored by purpose. Or Marcus on the battlefield writing meditations while empires crumbled. Love is your battlefield. The external chaos, her moods, life's uncertainties, matters less than your internal command. Alex's friend Elias later shared how his own marriage revived after he stopped demanding. I became someone worth staying for, without needing her to stay. Real-world echoes abound. The executive who lost his wife to burnout, but rebuilt through Stoic discipline and won her back through transformation. The artist who channeled heartbreak into masterpieces,
only to find new love when he stopped seeking it. Your turn. The practice begins now.
Write down what you control in your relationship. Practice one response differently this week. Read Meditations or Enchiridion, not for quotes to impress, but for lived wisdom. When the urge to text desperately hits, pause. Ask, is this from virtue or fear? Love through Stoic eyes becomes a school for the soul. It reveals your weaknesses and forges your strengths. Whether she stays or goes, you win, because you become whole.
Alex and Sarah are still together years later. Not perfectly, but deeply. Their bond stronger because it's built on two independent selves choosing each other daily. He never gave up on her that night. More importantly, he never gave up on himself. The rain has stopped outside your window now, hasn't it? The choice is yours. Before you send that final message or close the door forever, pause. The Stoics are waiting with timeless tools. Use them. Transform the pain into power. Your greatest love story might just be the one you build with yourself first, then share with her. And if it ends, you'll walk forward unbroken, eyes open to new horizons, because that's the Stoic way. Not giving up, but rising, no matter what.